Hello and welcome to the lesson, some important notes on trigonometry. And we are going to start with the trigonometric ratios. The trigonometric ratios are sine, cosine, and tangent. Now given, let's say this angle here, as theta, how do you get the sine of that angle? We use a right angle triangle in all the trigonometric ratios. To get sine, we take opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. So when angle theta is there, the opposite side is here. That is the opposite side to the angle. Then the hypotenuse is here. What about cosine of the same angle? The cosine of theta. Now we are getting the sine of theta. This is how we write it. So let me write it well. So sine of angle theta is given by opposite divided by the hypotenuse. What about cosine? Cosine of angle theta, we write it like that. We get it by adjacent. Adjacent side to that angle is here. Then divided by the hypotenuse. Adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. What about the tangent? Tangent of angle theta is given by opposite side over the adjacent. Adjacent side to that angle is A. So that is how we get the trigonometric ratios. Remember, the adjacent side and also the opposite side depends on the position of the angle. For example, if you have, let's say, the angle is here, alpha, the side that is opposite to that angle, alpha, is A. The adjacent side to that angle, alpha, is O. So the trigonometric ratios will change. Hypotenuse will remain to be the same, but the adjacent side and the opposite side will depend on the position of the angle. Now we simplify the trigonometric ratios by this acronym, SOHCAHTOA, whereby sine, you get sine, the first S, sine is obtained by taking the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. Then cosine is obtained by adjacent of hypotenuse. Then the tangent is obtained by opposite adjacent. It's a very important acronym that will help you remember the trigonometric ratios. We go to the unit circle. Unit circle is very important. And we're going to start by identifying the quadrants. In a unit circle, we have 4 quadrants. This is the first quadrant. This is the second quadrant. This is the third quadrant. And this is the fourth quadrant. We measure positive angles in anti-clockwise direction. So positive angles are measured from here. This is where we have 0 degrees. In anti-clockwise, that is positive angles 90. And then we have 180 degrees. This will be 270 degrees. And then this will be 360 degrees. So that is how we measure the positive angles in anti-clockwise direction from 0. Now there's something else that we need to know about the unit circle. You can see there's some things I've written here. All students take coffee. What do we mean by these? That if you take, let me label these angles again, 0, 90 degrees, 180, 270 degrees, and 360. It means that all trigonometric ratios of angles between 0 and 90 degrees, that is a sine, cosine, and tangent, they are all positive in the first quadrant. So in the first quadrant, if you get the sine of any angle that is between 0 and 90, the cosine of the same, the tangent of the same, all of them will be positive. In the second quadrant, you can see S. S for students is only sine that is positive. That means that cosine is negative, then tangent is negative in that quadrant. The only one that is positive is sine. So if you take any angle from 90 to 180, get its sign, it will be positive in the second quadrant. In the third quadrant, T for take, only tangent is positive. That means that sine is negative, cosine is negative. So if you get tangent of any angle between 180 and 270 to be positive, its sine will be negative, its cosine will be negative. The fourth quadrant, C for coffee. So C stands for cosine. It is only cosine that is positive in that quadrant. So what do we mean? That if you take any angle from 200 and between the angle between 270 to 360, any angle that you take between there and gets its cosine, it will be positive. Its sine will be negative. Its tangent will be negative. So that is very important. That is how we come with this acronym, all students take coffee. Now you understand this. Then there's something else about negative angles. We talked of the positive angles. Positive angles are measured in anti-clockwise direction. Negative angles are measured in a clockwise direction. So these are positive angles. That is how we measure positive angles in anti-clockwise direction. Negative angles are measured in clockwise direction from 0. So this will be 0, this will be negative 90, negative 180, like that. So that is about the unit circle. Now let's go to something else, amplitude. What is amplitude? It is the physical distance of a maximum or minimum point of a curve from the x-axis. This is the illustration. You can see that distance. Like in this case, if you're required to get the amplitude is taken as the positive absolute value. The amplitude of this curve is 3, that distance, that displacement. So amplitude, we take the positive only, not negative 3, is 3. Then period, it is the interval in terms of an angle after which the full cycle of a curve repeats itself. It is the interval in terms of an angle after which the full cycle of a curve repeats itself. There is an illustration to show this. Like in this curve, you can see the full cycle before it repeats itself from 0 to 180. That is a full cycle. Then it repeats itself from these from the x-axis. So it moves from 0, then comes back again at 180. That is why it repeats itself and makes another cycle. So the period of this kind of a curve is 180. Now the period goes from one peak to the next, or from any point to the next matching point. From any point to the next matching point. Like in this case, the previous diagram here, from 0 to 180. So you can see there's a matching point. So it comes from 0 then to 180. There's a point that is matching. 0 is matching the same line. It's on the same line with 180. So this one is also the period. You can see this distance. That distance is the period. Then you can see the amplitude. Distance is given there. Finally, for any given curve of the form y is equals to a sine bx plus or minus c, or y is equals to a cosine of bx plus or minus c, if you're required to get the amplitude, the period, and the phase angle, this is the formula, and this is how you're supposed to get it. The amplitude, when you look at those functions having a, we take the absolute of a. That means we should only consider positive values when you're giving the amplitude. We can't give the amplitude as negative. So if the amplitude is negative in the curve, then it means that the curve is inverted. Then to get the period, you get 360 divided by the absolute of b from the functions, as you can see it, or 2 pi radians is the same as 360 divided by absolute of b. The phase angle is given by c. When you look at the functions, you notice there is plus or minus c. That angle can be positive or negative. So when you're giving that angle, we should always consider the positive. If you find, for example, the face angle is negative 30, when you're stating the face angle, simply state it as 30 degrees. That is what we mean by the absolute of c. Now, what does it mean if c is positive? If c is positive, the curve is shifted to the right. And if c is negative, then the curve is shifted to the left. That is what it means. So this is very important. Now, using that, given the functions, these functions here, you can be able to identify the amplitude, the period, and the phase angle. For example, given y is equals to sine x, simply need to compare that equation with these equations that we've given here. So for these y is equals to sine x, the amplitude will be 1, the period will be 360 divided by b, which is 360 divided by 1, which is 360, the phase angle is 0. For the other function, y is equals to cos x, the amplitude is 1, the period is 360 divided by 1, which is 360, the phase angle is 0 degrees. For the other function, y is equals to 2 cosine over half x, the amplitude will be 2, the period 360 divided by a half, which is 720, the phase angle is 0. Then for the other function, y is equals to 3 sine 2x plus 60, the amplitude is 3, the period is 360 divided by 2, which is 180, the phase angle will be 60. Then for the last one, y is equals to 3 cosine of x minus 30 degrees, the amplitude is 3, the period is 360 divided by 1, and the phase angle, be careful here, is not negative 30, 30 degrees. Positive, we consider the positive both for amplitude and the phase angle. Thank you.